Wisconsin, and the world. This is TMJ4 News at 10.
And right now at 10, more than 70 new charges for the suspect charged in the Waukesha Christmas parade attack. New details lay out how the tragedy all unfolded. Plus,
it comes down to is Milwaukee needs help. I'm only 16, I can't do it by myself.
The community calling to end workplace violence in the wake of a teenage girl shot and killed at Burger King.
And the new initiative by the state to get Milwaukee public school students back in the classroom. We begin, though, with those new details tonight on the moments before the Waukesha Christmas parade tragedy.
The driver of that SUV at one point had to stick his head out the passenger window because there was a victim on his hood. It's a detail revealed as 71 new charges are filed against the man accused of killing 6 and leaving dozens hurt. Tom Durian live tonight in Waukesha with what we have learned. Tom?
Yeah, Stephen, Shannon, what we're really learning right now tonight is what happened here in this park behind me in the minutes before it's alleged that Daryl Brooks took that SUV and drove around the corner here and down that parade route that killed 6 people. In the 32-page amended complaint against Daryl Brooks filed in Waukesha County Court Wednesday, the parade suspect faces 71 new charges for the injuries prosecutors say he caused on the parade route and 2 counts of misdemeanor battery and domestic abuse that police say happened at Frame Park minutes before the deadly attack. Documents say when police met with Brooks's girlfriend back on the night of the parade, she had a swollen and bruised eye and her leg was in a boot. She says the two had gotten in an argument in Brooks's red Ford Escape. During that argument, he drove around nearby streets and documents say, quote, she became fearful of his driving because he was driving fast and was only driving with one hand and was striking her in the face with his other hand. Police say the woman lied about the encounter at first because she was afraid of Brooks, saying that he, quote, has caused substantial injury to her in the past and has run her over with his vehicle, end quote. The woman says that's why her leg was in a boot, because he had run her over with the same SUV and broke that leg. The woman eventually got out of the SUV and walked back to Frame Park, where she says Brooks came back to. Police surveillance video in the area shows after another altercation with the woman and her friends, he, quote, got into his SUV and began to drive off in the southwesterly direction towards Main Street, end quote. That's where Brooks entered the Christmas parade route, where hundreds of parade participants and thousands of spectators were enjoying a Waukesha holiday tradition. One officer says he, quote, stepped in front of the Ford Escape and pounded on the hood of the vehicle and yelled multiple times, stop. But Brooks continued down the route, they say, for a third of a mile, 5 blocks, hitting dozens of people from 8 different parade groups, killing 6. One witness told police, quote, it was like the SUV was trying to avoid vehicles, not people. There was no attempt made by the vehicle to stop, much less slow down, end quote. And one officer said, quote, at one point, Brooks leaned his head out of the window to steer because there was a person on the windshield blocking his vision. It wasn't until an officer fired at the SUV that it left the route and was later found abandoned shortly before Brooks was taken into custody. Now, the majority of the new charges here are for first-degree recklessly endangering safety and use of a dangerous weapon. That is, of course, the SUV. There's so many victims in this case that prosecutors identified them with a letter of the alphabet. They had to do it 3 times because there are so many victims. A, to get through all of the victims here. It's important to note also that Brooks was out on $1,000 bail from those earlier charges in Milwaukee County. When all of this happened, he's due back in court here in Waukesha County on Friday. Reporting live in Waukesha, Tom Durian, TMJ4 News.
All right, Tom, thank you. The 6 people killed in that tragedy are here on your screen. The youngest on the right is Jackson Sparks, only 8 years old. Milwaukee police are searching for a man on the run after a murder last Thursday. Police say 47-year-old Simone Hughes shot and killed Quinette Walters and injured her 14-year-old daughter. He has been charged, but he is not in custody. This happened near 36th and Center. Walters' daughter told police her father fired the shots and fled. He's wanted on a number of counts, including first-degree intentional homicide. Meanwhile, police in West Allis found their suspect in a deadly hit and run. It happened early Tuesday near Highway 100 in Oklahoma. The victim, identified by her family, is 20-year-old Donisha Harris. She was hit while crossing the street. A 54-year-old man from Milwaukee is in custody.
Well, a group of restaurant workers say they do not feel safe on the job, and their employers and the community can do more.
That was just one of the messages at a rally outside the Burger King, where a 16-year-old was shot and killed last week. Stephanie Haynes was there.
Justice for Nana.
A moment of silence for Naisha Harris Brazel, the 16-year-old shot and killed while working at Burger King near 51st and Capitol. A crowd of community leaders and activists turned out Wednesday night, not only to mourn Naisha, but to demand better for workers like her.
I started my first job at 16 years old at Wendy's. And during that time, 15 minutes onto the shift, we were robbed by gunpoint. Because as a mother, I too have a 15-year-old who's getting ready to go into the workforce. And I know how ugly workplace violence can get. What it comes down to is Milwaukee needs help. I'm only 16, I can't do it by myself.
Court documents allege Naisha's co-worker fired at someone who was trying to rob the store, but hit Naisha instead. Milwaukee police have arrested the man they think was trying to rob the store through the drive-through window, but the man they say pulled the trigger is still on the run. The city's Office of Violence Prevention has been in touch with Naisha's family.
I really press and express to people over and over that it's important that you take your time with this loss, this shock. There's all types of unanswered questions and whys and what didn't I do or what could I have done.
My condolences to the family. Nothing I say today is going to heal or help them, but how we move forward in the future can save another individual.
So far in 2022, Milwaukee police have investigated 5 homicides.
We've had 2 consecutive years of historic levels of gun violence in the city, and we all want to see this year better.
In Milwaukee, Stephanie Haynes, TMJ4 News.
Now, shootings, both fatal and non-fatal, have been on the rise in the city of Milwaukee, reporting more shooting victims in 2021 than in the past 10 years. With those statistics, violent crime in Milwaukee is sure to be a big issue in the race for mayor. So today, we heard from each of the 6 candidates who will be on the ballot about their plans for public safety. Some suggested adding more police officers, while others intend to hold the justice system more accountable. And these are the 6 candidates who have turned in the paperwork to get on that spring ballot. They include Acting Mayor Cavalier Johnson, Alderwoman Marina Dimitrievich, former Alderman Bob Donovan, Sheriff Ernell Lucas, business owner Michael Sampson, and of course, State Senator Lena Taylor. Now, we want to hear from the public and the public's plan on safety. To learn more about the candidates, you can go to tmj4.com/decision2022.
To coronavirus coverage, while Milwaukee Public Schools remain virtual this week, a positive development. Superintendent Keith Posley tweeted these photos saying the state has sent the district 100,000 N95 masks for students and staff. MPS plans to welcome students back into the classroom on Tuesday. More than 10,000 new COVID-19 cases reported today. Our 7-day average is actually down. It's dipped to 9,600. It's the first time the 7-day average has gone down since Christmas. But there are more people in the hospital in Wisconsin right now than ever before in the pandemic. The Wisconsin Hospital Association reports 2,278 people in the hospital with COVID. That breaks the record from last November in 2020.
Advocate Aurora Health reached a new record of their own with 1,744 COVID patients and more than 600 of them here in Wisconsin. There is a glimmer of hope, though. System leaders say that they are starting to see a leveling off of growth in hospitalizations, but they're still at a point where the system is strained.
We are trying to do is to utilize our staff. We're being creative in the way we deploy some of our staff. But the fact is that, there are times when we don't have enough staff to carry out all of the activities in the hospital.
Some sites are delaying or postponing elective procedures until there is enough staff to provide the services safely. Now, after running out of N95 masks early this week, the city will hand out another 500,000 masks tomorrow. You can find a list of locations where they will be handing them out at TMJ4.com. You can also scan the QR code you see there on the screen, and your smartphone will take you directly to the webpage.
Still ahead, a proposal requiring schools to teach kids how to interact with law enforcement.
If you're comfortable, police officers comfortable, there's much less opportunity for something to go wrong.
In our community, you can be as compliant as ever and still not make it home safely.
Hear from lawmakers on both sides of this argument.
And later, the Army, like many industries facing staffing shortages, the new incentive to get people to join.
And after the deep freeze earlier this week, a little January thaw today, and it's still going on with temperatures in the mid-30s in Milwaukee. Could see some fog, some drizzle, and even some flurries. When we're tracking bigger snow coming up.